Hi guys, welcome back to your channel. So we are back with another video that is hypertension and treatment. So both the medicos and the medicos can look upon this video. So the main contents through which we'll be dealing is that the blood pressure, the hypertension, the types of hypertension, side effects of hypertension, and the most important that is the treatment of hypertension. So the basic thing, the what is blood pressure? Blood pressure is actually the pressure of the circulating blood against the walls of the vessel. So simply, it is the blood pressure. So it is actually whenever we are referring the BP, it is the pressure in the large arteries. So in adults, blood pressure is considered to be normal under a systolic value of 140 millimeter Hg and under a diastolic value of 90 millimeter Hg. So it is actually measured by a sphygmomanometer. So this is actually the sphygmomanometer and this is the digital BP measuring instrument. So the pumping of heart is actually related to the BP. So this is actually checking the BP of a cat. This is the checking BP of a dog. So the controlling factors, there are several controlling factors that would actually have a very big role in the controlling of the blood pressure. So the first one is the contraction of the left ventricle. So the strength of the contraction will determine the cardiac output that will actually depend upon the contraction. And this next one is the systemic vascular resistance. Next is the elasticity of arterial walls and the blood volume. So the BP is actually the product of the cardiac output with the systemic vascular resistance. So whenever cardiac output is increasing, that is the contraction of left ventricle is more, cardiac output increases. Or whenever the elasticity of arterial walls is increasing, the systemic vascular resistance will increase. So in these two conditions, the BP will rise. So this is actually the increase in blood pressure. So you can see this is the schematic representation of antihypertensive drugs, how they act. So the systems involved in BP regulation is actually the arterial BP is regulated by the pressure sensitizing neurons that is present in the aortic arch and carotid sinus. It is known as baroreceptors. They can sensitize the pressure. The blood will be applying the pressure whenever it is moving through a artery or a vein. So the baroreceptors will understand the pressure, and if at all the BP is falling, those baroreceptors can send signal to the adrenal medulla, which will release the catecholamines. That is adrenaline. So sympathetic activity increased through the activation of alpha and beta receptors. So BP increased. So the next one is the activation of beta 1 and the alpha 1 receptors. Though finally the BP will increase. And next one is the very important system, that is the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So through this actually angiotensin 2 will be there and it will be constricting the vessel. So the vascular resistance will be increased and the BP will also increase. So aldosterone will cause the water and sodium retention, thus cardiac output increase and the BP increase. So we'll be dealing with all those systems very detailed. So the hypertension. What is hypertension? Hypertension, also known as the high or the raised blood pressure, is a condition in which the blood vessels will have persistently raised pressure. So each time the heart beats, it pumps its blood to the vessels, right? So it is a major cause of premature death worldwide. Actually, hypertension is a very big problem. So you can see the cartonic diagrams of the hypertension. So according to the World Health Organization, 1.13 billion people worldwide have hypertension. 1 in 4 men and 1 in 5 women had hypertension in 2015. So these data will be revealing the consequences of hypertension. So the types of hypertension, there are mainly 4 types of hypertension. The first one is the primary hypertension, or it is known as idiopathic or the essential hypertension. Second one is the secondary hypertension. Third one is the malignant hypertension. Fourth one is the resistant hypertension. So what is the side effects of hypertension? Hypertension can affect all the systems of the body very badly. So generally hypertension can affect the heart, brain, kidney, liver, sex organs, the eyes, etc. So you can see the stroke, the vision loss, the heart failure, the heart attack, sexual dysfunction, the kidney disease failure, all these things are the sequelae of hypertension. So you can see, yeah, hypertension retinopathy. So the pharmacotherapy of hypertension will be mainly dealing with the anti-hypertensive drugs, that is the drugs which are used to control the hypertension. So do not eat without the prescription from a doctor. You should not use the anti-hypertensive without the prescription from a doctor. So the classification. So for actually medical pharmacology, we'll be using the classification like diuretics, ACE inhibitors, angiotensin, direct renin inhibitor, calcium channel blockers, beta adrenergic blockers, beta plus alpha adrenergic blockers, central sympatholytics, vasodilators. So for the veterinary pharmacology, we'll be using the details from the heart pulsing sample. That is mainly vasodilators. So they will be dilating the vessels so that systemic vascular resistance decreases and the BP decreases. The next one is the beta adrenoreceptor blockers. So beta or alpha activity will not happen. That will lead to the lessened activity of the sympathetic system. So what happens? BP decreases. Next one is the diuretics. They will be reducing the blood pressure actually by lowering the extracellular fluid volume and the cardiac output. So we'll be telling all about the details. So the first one is the alpha 1 blockers. That is, they will be causing, that is, whenever we take an alpha blocker, they will be binding to the alpha receptor and blocking the alpha 1 activity. So what will be cause? Decrease the systemic vascular resistance that leads to decrease in BP. So the example is prazosin, terazosin, doxazone. So the next one is selective beta blockers. They cause decrease in cardiac output, that is BP will be decreased. Atenolol, metoprolol, bisoprolol, esmolol. So you can see those tablets. So next is the non-selective beta blockers. They are actually the propranolol, pindolol, and timolol. Next is the beta blockers with alpha blocking property. So they are actually the carvedilol and labetalol. They cause decrease in systemic vascular resistance. Next one is the calcium channel blockers. They are actually of the two types. That is the dihydropyridines and non-dihydropyridines. Dihydropyridines will selectively inhibit L-type calcium channel in the vascular smooth muscles. So they are actually the dipins, amlodipine, felodipine, nicardipine, ifedipine. Non-dihydropyridines will non-selectively inhibit the L-type calcium channel. They also have a small antiarrhythmic property. These are the diltiazem, verapamil, and the digitalis. So these are the amlodipine, nicardipine, and verapamil, diltiazem. So next one is the centrally acting adrenergic drugs, clonidine and methyl dopamine. They will be actually stimulating the presynaptic alpha 2 receptors. Thus, the negative feedback message will go, and so catecholamine production will be decreased. So what happens? BP will decrease. So next is the diuretics, loop diuretics, thiazide diuretics, potassium sparing diuretics. You can see they will be reducing the reabsorption of NaCl and they will be decreasing the cardiac output. Loop diuretics, furosemide is a very good example. Thiazide diuretics, hydrochlorothiazide is example. And in the case of potassium sparing diuretics, spironolactone and triamcinolone. These are the drugs. So the next is the drugs of RAAS system, that is direct renin blocker will be aliskiren and ramikiren. ACE inhibitors will be the PRILs. AT2 receptor blockers will be the sartans. So these are the drugs. So you can see angiotensin will be secreted by the liver as angiotensinogen. From the action of renin, it will be converted to angiotensin 1. From the ACE, that is from the lungs and also the kidney, it will be converted to angiotensin 2. Angiotensin will do act on the receptors, cause vasoconstriction. Angiotensin, that is, they will create tension on the angio. Okay, that will lead to the aldosterone secretion and the ADH secretion, arterial vasoconstriction. So what happens? Hypertension. Hypertension is a normal feature. What if we take a renin blocker? Renin, it will be acting this stage and the renin will be blocked. So what happens? Angiotensin will not form and there will be no tensive action on the angio. That is, the vessels will not be tensed. So our side effects of the ACE inhibitors, that is the mnemonic is the captopril, cough, acute renal failure, proteinuria, taste alteration and all. You can use this. This is actually from the medical mnemonics. So side effects of the angiotensin receptor blockers, that is sartans. So World Health Organization guidelines. Thank you guys.